Victoria Neuman was first shown to be a passionate congresswoman who strongly opposed all supes and even founded the Federal Bureau of Superhuman Affairs. But by now, we've learned that she has several dirty tricks hidden up her sleeve, some of which began unraveling by Season 2's explosive end. We already know that Victoria Neuman is a mind-blowing supe. Literally. Her beginnings in life were tragic as she was raised in a Vought-owned orphanage and kept her superpowers a guarded secret. A gender bend of the foolish Victor Neuman from the comics, Victoria is a bloodbender in disguise. In this marvelous video, we're going to count down her insane powers that have been revealed to us in The Boys and Gen V. Before we get into this list though, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Blood manipulation. Victoria Neuman's most prominent superpower is the ability to make people's heads explode, a terrifying power that she kept cleverly hidden as a politician. We first saw this in Season 2, Episode 7, titled Butcher, Baker, Candlestick Maker. Billy Butcher managed to convince Vought's former CSO, Dr. Jonah Vogelbaum, to testify against the mega conglomerate for its multiple felonies. On the day of the congressional hearing about Vought's international production and distribution of Compound V, Victoria was seemingly anticipating Vought being proven guilty. But right as Jonah took his place as a witness, the judge's head exploded. This was shortly followed by Jonah's head blowing up as though a chain reaction exploded several other people's heads in the courtroom. This was of course Victoria's doing. Her base ability is to control a person's blood entirely. She prefers to make people's heads explode, it's just more fun that way. As far as her blood bending goes, Victoria can narrow down a singular part of her target or their entire body. She's giving people nosebleeds as a way to intimidate them, and her eyes usually go all white when she uses her powers. Blood sense. So how does Victoria manage to control someone's blood with such precision? As we saw in Season 2, Episode 8, titled What I Know, she made Alistar Adana's head explode by simply looking at him through his window. This confirmed that Victoria needed to look at her victims in order to blow their minds. In Gen V, it was revealed that Victoria shared the same powers as the supe she was sponsoring, Marie Moreau. The only difference was the way they used their bloody powers. Marie used her blood as a weapon by turning it into projectiles, among many other things. On the contrary, Victoria relished using her opponent's blood to kill them, hence the head popping. But, like Marie, Victoria also possesses a psychic, nearly supernatural awareness of blood. She can efficiently study the most microscopic elements of anyone's blood. An instance of this would be the time when Victoria chose to coach Marie on all the components of blood, which granted her the ability to identify if a person's blood contained Compound V. There was also a subtle moment in the first episode of Season 3 that hinted at her ability to read blood. In the scene in which Victoria and Huey ate lunch together, Huey joked about having herpes so he wouldn't have to share his bagel, but Victoria was confident that he didn't. Why? Because she would have sensed the infection in his blood if he did indeed have it. Enhanced strength. While Victoria keeps most of her superpowers discreet, we've seen her superhuman strength come through on a few occasions. Like all supes, Victoria Neuman also possesses enhanced strength. Regular humans don't stand a chance, as Victoria can easily overpower them. But she can also hold her own against a select few supes. For instance, in Season 3, Tony, a friend Victoria had during her time at the orphanage, finally managed to corner her and question who she truly works for. Tony refers to her as Nadia, which she was presumably named in 1987 when she was given Compound V as a baby. Being raised in the harsh environment of Red River Institute, Nadia found a best friend in Tony. But Tony wanted to ask Victoria why she refused to speak of their ill treatment in the orphanage as the congresswoman she was. They seemed to reconcile by hugging it out until Tony's nose started bleeding. The tussle began with Tony preventing Victoria from directly looking at him to prevent his blood from being manipulated, but she managed to overpower him with her enhanced strength, after which she blew his hand and part of his head off. Victoria looked like she regretted hurting her childhood best friend, but settled on making his whole body implode afterwards. Accelerated healing. In Gen V, Victoria Neuman sponsors the young supe named Marie Moreau, allowing her to get into Godolphin University. When Victoria officially met Marie for the first time, the young supe was asked to read her blood. This was the moment Marie sensed the Compound V in Victoria's blood, confirming the fact that she was a supe. The two supes also realized they had identical powers as Victoria cut open her own palm and willed her blood to levitate. Then, she instantly healed this self-inflicted cut. Victoria possesses accelerated healing, also known as regenerative healing factor, but only to a certain extent. She can still be knocked out, stunned, or even killed by brute force, such as supes. she cannot utilize this ability against Supes who are way stronger than her. For instance, when Homelander threatened Victoria, he did so by choking her and nearly breaking her neck. She certainly wouldn't have been able to heal from that injury. Enhanced durability. This ability prevents Victoria from being seriously injured or even killed. Remember her altercation with Tony? As they fought, Victoria was slammed nearly 12 feet back into a dumpster truck. The impact would have killed any regular human being, but not Victoria. We saw the true extent of her superhuman durability in Season 4, Episode 1, titled Department of Dirty Tricks, in which Huey confronted Victoria on injecting her own daughter, Zoe, with Compound V. Victoria insisted that it was a bid to protect her daughter by turning her into a supe. By this point, Huey had uncovered Victoria's own secret and her bloody past. While she insisted that their friendship had been real and she truly cared for him, Huey wasn't having any of it. In a tense moment, he threw a can of highly corrosive acid right in her face. But for Victoria, this was like being splashed in the face with water. As the acid burned a hole through her blazer, Butcher took things into his own hands and shot Victoria point blank in the head. But little did they know that Victoria Neuman is also bulletproof. Not only did the bullet fail to even scratch her skin, it instead ricocheted off her temple and nearly killed Huey in the van. Even so, she looked mildly annoyed and questioned how the boys were getting worse at their jobs. Following this, Mother's Milk speculates that Victoria might have superhuman invulnerability. This was confirmed when Starlight tried to knock Victoria out, but this punch on her face just made her laugh. But I gotta say, Huey is one brave lad for trying to attack a supe who could make his head explode in less than a second. Superhuman Hearing. One power that's super handy when you're a conniving politician seeking to turn power dynamics to your favor is being able to eavesdrop on conversations happening miles away. Victoria Neuman possesses superhuman hearing, which she's used for her own advantage on countless occasions. In the TV show, all superhumans have been portrayed as having enhanced hearing, but in the comics this is considered to be a distinct superpower separate from the general attributes of a supe. Given the role Victoria plays in politics, this power is far more valuable than any other superpower she possesses. Her superhuman hearing allows her to listen to confidential conversations or meetings in order to use sensitive information in her favor. What else does she even need besides gathering intel on her rivals without the risk of being caught? Advanced Intelligence. Victoria Neuman didn't rise to the position of vice president with average intelligence. This was a calculated maneuver to further her plan of infiltrating the government as a secret supe. Since her introduction in Season 2 of The Boys, Victoria has shown us how cunning of a congresswoman she truly is. She first appeared as a dedicated spokesperson against supes and the atrocities committed by Vought International. She carefully curated her public image from the very beginning, gaining the favor of the masses. She even managed to rally citizens against Homelander when he was exposed for killing an innocent person. Her genuine nature and past have only been revealed to us and a couple of characters. She's actually a supe who's playing a dangerous double game of potentially being a mole for Vought International. Victoria's ability to adapt to any situation is how she progresses in achieving her ambitions. She even caught the boys and Grace Mallory off guard when she predicted their next plan against Vought. One thing you'll never catch Victoria doing is being reckless. She has always used her powers cautiously for cruelly pragmatic reasons, unlike certain supes who can't help but get off on how powerful they are. Looking at you, John Gilman. One instance of this would be when Alastair Adana, chairman of the Church of the Collective, blackmailed Victoria, and she decided the most sensible thing to do would be to take him out discreetly. Political influence. While this might not be a traditional superpower like the ones we've spoken about so far, Victoria's political influence might be her strongest weapon. Victoria was raised and coached by her adoptive father, Stan Edgar, in following the most ruthless approaches. Victoria possessed the mindset, skills, and discretion to pursue a career in politics. As a congresswoman and vice presidential candidate, Victoria has been working for Stan Edgar's best interests along with her own. On the surface, Victoria depicted herself as extremely anti-supe while directing the Bureau of Superhuman Affairs. So far, she's already managed to climb the political ranks and now wishes to snake her way into the Oval Office. Most recently, in Season 4, Episode 6, Neuman reluctantly joined forces with Homelander, which revealed their sly plan of devising a coup. While becoming vice president might be good enough to advance Victoria's political poisoning, it clearly isn't for her. Homelander and Victoria met with a few of the most influential people in the US government and sold them their plan to usurp presidential-elect Robert Singer the moment he assumed office as POTUS. They plan to do this by invoking the 25th Amendment. Among other things, this section declares if the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the vice president shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting president, which basically means that Victoria would become president. Yikes. Psychological manipulation. Let's be honest, manipulating the masses in politics has been a thing since the beginning of time. With her carefully curated public persona, Victoria successfully inflamed the public passion by exposing Vought. The question remains, how on earth did Homelander and Victoria manage to convince the people in power of their 25th Amendment plan? It didn't go too smoothly when Homelander pitched the idea, as he let his anger and egotistical speaking skills get the better of him. But Victoria swooped in and smoothed things out. She appealed to the House speakers and politicians' greed for power and desire to remain in a position of authority. Let's zoom out a bit and build a case on her manipulative tactics. First, she convinced the public of her anti-Soup stance. She let Huey believe that he was truly making a difference by working for her, and she deviously began working with Homelander. But this may lead them to his end. As the seasons go by, Homelander is increasingly becoming more paranoid, insecure, and unhinged. By this point, all Victoria Neuman has to do is declare a psychological war against Homelander, a ruthless move that even his laser eyes can't protect himself against. Secret identity concealment. All in all, it's impressive to see how Victoria has managed to conceal her true identity for so long. On top of this, she even used her powers in broad daylight and in high-profile locations without getting caught. But many wonder why the boys didn't expose her true identity the minute they found out. This might be due to the fact that they don't know the full extent of her powers. It would be like trying to poke a sleeping bear. Often, it's best to leave her alone and hope she doesn't see the need for your head to be popped. As for her other tightly hidden secret, only Tony seemed to know it. Victoria was actually named Nadia, who was injected with Compound V as a baby. Sadly, little Nadia was unable to control her powers, which led to her accidentally killing her parents. She went from adoptive family to adoptive family, all of whom were brutally massacred by her uncontrollable powers. Finally, she was taken in by Stan Edgar, who covered all evidence of the blood on her hands and took her in as his own daughter. Nadia was given a new identity as Victoria Neuman. Even now, she refuses to expose the horrible life she led during her time at the Red River Institute. Marvelous verdict! Victoria Neuman's most incredible power is the unflinching calmness she maintains while dealing with psychopathic superheroes. Her methodical and manipulative way of survival makes her a true force to be reckoned with. In a world that worships superhumans as the media holds them in place, Victoria could be considered the most powerful superhuman of them all. Fans of the show also appreciate the nuance shown in her character. Victoria is shown as genuinely caring for her adoptive father, Stan Edgar, and also her close friend Huey. She's also gambling everything to work with Homelander in a desperate bid to protect her daughter Zoe. Even with all of that going on, her political self-preservation crowns all. That's all we got for you this time, but if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day. This is Wheezy249, signing off.